Well, what happens at the end like that, we go all day, have so many laps like that, and then at the end I'm holding my breath, and of course you see a caution. Didn't even know why until I looked up and saw everything. I think what I reflect on is when you have four cars like that, and you see those guys battle as hard as they do, each and every one of those cars. And you just hate it for Martin to have a night like that where he fought so hard. And so it's one of those things you reflect on. Really happy for Denny, Mavis, our new sponsor. Auto Owners was on Martin's car. And so it was a battle, really. I know that there wasn't the stage breaks, not a lot of cautions, but I think it was really, really a battle. And so appreciate our guys tonight. We love coming to Richmond. It's a favorite place for us. And I think our sponsors here, we had a large number of sponsors here tonight. It's a big deal for us all the way around. So really appreciate it. I know you guys are anxious to get to the important guys, Denny and Chris, so we'll get to them as quick as we can.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. Two. The first is, what did you think of the use of the wet weather tires? Were you good with it and with the way NASCAR handled it?
Yeah, I think we all kind of felt like if that was going to be the case and it wasn't really raining hard, we didn't have windshield wipers, but I heard a couple of guys comment, said they never use them anyway. So, but I felt like as long as it really wasn't a steady downpour, that would probably be the way we would get the race started.
And I don't know if you're aware, but Hendrick Motorsports is going to do a big 40th anniversary celebration next week at Martinsville, and I know Rick played a pretty big role when you got into the sport. What did you think his impact was on your entry into the sport?
Yeah, I think that was major. I had an interesting phone call, so I'm there in Washington, and I was thinking about trying to get into racing. JD and Coy said, "Dad, let's get in racing in some way." And so everybody had told me the person you need to call is Rick. Well, when I called Rick, he said, "Yeah, I'm going to put my general manager with you," and that was Jimmy Johnson. And so that's how we started out. Jimmy Johnson was taking me around to everybody. At that point, Chevrolet, and he went with me to Interstate. And so Rick played a key role in getting us started. We also bought some stuff from him. We also had a motor package with him for quite a while. And so Rick was instrumental. And I think with our sport, almost everybody here knows to come into the sport, it really does help to have an alliance. In those days, it wasn't called an alliance, but that's really what he was for us, because we had 17 people our first year. And so just really appreciate him. We joke back and forth, kid each other all the time, and have a good relationship. I invited him to a football game, so he comes to the football game. Just a quick story. You probably heard this. And he wore these boots, these fancy big boots. They came apart on the sideline. It was freezing cold, and he almost died on the sideline the night he came. So that was a side story.
All right, let's go to Chris Powell.
Chris Powell, Couch Coach Live. Coach, you had a great weekend for the organization. Chandler wins yesterday in Xfinity Series, and also Denny wins today. What's your thoughts on just this weekend overall?
Yeah, I think just love coming here. It was obviously a big weekend for us. Just really appreciate that. And again, it emphasizes in Xfinity, we got 4 cars. 3 of them, have been running really good. And honestly, it shows you how hard our sport is. For Sheldon, I feel so bad. We've had 3 real tough races in a row. And so it just goes to show you our sport is really tough, and it's not often you get to walk away from the racetrack and have all 4 teams happy. It just doesn't. And tonight's a good example, you know. But anyway, I just really appreciate it. Appreciate coming here. The fan base here, I always get along really good with them. When we go to hospitalities and stuff, there's a lot of Redskin fans here, and so they treat me great.
All right, let's go to Randy.
Randy Hallman, Richmond Times-Dispatch. Joe, Denny talks about his goals long range sometimes. What are your goals for Denny?
Yeah, obviously, just we want him. It's all the obvious things. He wants to get to 60 wins. I think that tonight made it 53. I told him I'm counting the clash. So we're at 54. But I think he wants to get to 60 wins. That's a huge deal for him. And then I think everybody asks him the question about winning a championship. Obviously, we would love to see that happen. You know, I met with him up at Watkins Glen, and we were talking, and I told him that, you know, for a guy that is where he is in his career, he had struggled with road racing. And it shows you, though, his desire and drive, you know, even at where he is in his career, because he went to work on road racing and did a number of things. They put Tyler's setup in the car for him. He did things like that, had a tough time driving it, went to work in a simulator. And for him to come back at his age and set on 3 poles, you know, is a huge deal. It shows you his talent, and it shows you his willingness still at this point in his career to really work hard at something. That's hard work. And so, anyway, you know, it's been a great relationship when you think about it. You know, 18 years, FedEx has been there, and for us to enjoy this, it's really been special.
Okay, let's come over here. Right here.
Coach, I don't know if you were able to see post-race, but Barton was, as you know, probably not happy with the result and ran into Denny. Talk about like how bittersweet that result is considering Martin's dominance, and is that, given what Martin did post-race, is that going to be handled maybe in the team meeting on Monday?
Well, I think here's what happens. These guys put so much into this. They're all, I mean, great competitors, and these things are so hard to win. And so when you have an experience the way Martin did tonight, you know, to race that hard, you know, at one point there when the 5 got in front of us on that pit stop, I mean, he came right back and got it. I mean, he drove his heart out. And so, you know, then to have a caution, we go that far, and then to have a caution with 3 laps to go, you know, it was devastating. We came out of there, and we came out second on the pit stop. And so, honestly, you just feel, you know, that's what I was trying to relate to everybody. You're happy for Denny, certainly, and everything that happened tonight for him. But then, you know, you see that in Martin, how hard he fought for this and how much he wanted it. But that's part of our sport. It's really hard. And you see these guys, when it gets down towards the end of these races, they're going for it because they are really hard to win. And so you can't have that happen, particularly if you got good cars, good drivers. They all want it. They want it for their sponsor. They want it for themselves, their career. And so you really feel for them when they go through a night, you know, like Martin went through this night. You just feel for them.
All right, we can take one more question for Coach. Go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Congratulations to you and your team for success so far this year. You recently brought back Mr. forgive me if I mispronounce his name, Almirola, towards your team. What was that like in the decision to do that for this year and going forward for next week? What are your plans for the team?
Yeah, Eric Almirola. Yeah, huge deal for us. What happened on that, he was in our diversity program that we had when Reggie White was, you know, with us. and he was the owner of the diversity team we had. Eric went through there. He's Cuban descent. You know, we had Bubba went through there. Daniel Suarez went through there. So all of those guys went through our diversity program. And Eric, we got in a conversation about a year ago. And I said, you need to come back and finish your career with us. You know, he's been 19 years ago when he was with us. He's been really, really just a class person. And I mentioned to everybody what kind of guy he is. JD had a lot to do, my son, with getting him to our race team. And JD got sick, and it was over a 5-year period. He gradually, you know, lost all physical. He just couldn't converse with anybody or anything. It's kind of hard for me to say. Eric Almirola would come and sit with him, even when he couldn't communicate, for 2 and 3 hours at his house. That's the kind of person he is. So we had a chance to get back together, and he said, you know, I can come over. I think he's working with, he's working with our young drivers. We got a number of them in Xfinity. I just appreciate him so much and the kind of person he is. So that started all of that. And so anyway, we want to certainly keep him as long as we can.
Coach, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank y'all.
And congratulations on the win.
Appreciate it so much. God's blessed us with a great group of people, and thank y'all for all you do to make us look good. And it was awesome today. We had a great service, by the way, and it was really great. I appreciate NASCAR letting us do that, and I really appreciate being a part of that on Easter.